Let's compare a Saberforge Prodigy lightsaber hilt to a Saberforge Justicar lightsaber hilt. So these are two kind of Graflex tribute lightsabers manufactured by Saberforge, and they have lots of kind of visual cues, kind of nods to the Graflex lightsaber, but at the same time, both of these hilts, each of them is really their own animal as well, and they have a lot of kind of distinct features, distinct from the Graflex lightsaber and also, distinct from each other. So if we look at kind of the overall profile of the hilt, really the overall look of the hilt is very similar. There's certainly kind of different specific design issues, but just the fact that both of them kind of have that S-curve emitter at the top, and it's sort of a very kind of straight hilt, all the way down with both of them. Yeah, that's pretty similar. Now, the Justicar is a little bit of a wider hilt, and it's also a little bit of a longer hilt, just kind of nominally. It's a little bit longer there. And then the thickness of the metal, the Justicar is a bit thicker, as you can see right here. So now let's kind of like compare these hilts starting at the top. So you can see this part of the hilt looks very similar. Both of them kind of have these cutout circles at the top, very similar shape to the emitter, but it's not exactly the same cut, or it doesn't appear to be quite, exactly the same cut. There's this little kind of window at the top. It's a bit smaller on the Prodigy. And we have the bunny ears on the Prodigy. We don't have bunny ears on Justicar. So, this is one of probably the most prominent, memorable features of the Graflex lightsaber. And over here, this is kind of like a cut-in beer tab-like thing. So if on the Graflex lightsaber, there would be kind of this piece that's called the beer tab that's shaped this way. Everything over here is blank on the Justicar, by contrast. We've got this kind of line right here, this groove on either end of the Prodigy. And then even on the front, it's sort of like a cutout button type of thing on the Prodigy, and there's not an equivalent on the Justicar, although there is kind of this little cutout box. Now moving down, both hilts have a bit of a taper below the emitter area, although Justicar has a few grooves and then sort of a very short taper, and the taper on Prodigy is definitely longer, and it has a few kind of grooves within the taper itself. Now moving down a bit farther, so both of them have these dummy switches, and you could have different actual switches installed there. It's kind of this recessed area within the Prodigy. It's not recessed within the Justicar. And the Justicar hilt has this kind of faux activation box area as well, which is certainly a nod to kind of the original trilogy style lightsabers. There's no activation box or faux activation box on the Prodigy at all, but there are these kind of vertical grooves right here, and then a series of very thin vertical grooves around the side, whereas Justicar over here has these horizontal grooves. Now the grip section on these hilts is radically different. So the grip section there's sort of vertical grooves, vertical fluting really on the Justicar, and then you have horizontal grooves on the Prodigy. And then moving down farther, so the cover tech wheels on these hilts are a little bit different. And finally the pommel. So the pommel on the Prodigy, it's sort of a Revan style pommel, or has a little bit of the kind of Obi-Wan Kenobi prequel lightsaber hilt feel to it, and it has that sort of doorknob shape to it. And the pommel for Saberforge Justicar over here, it's the same diameter as most of the rest of the hilt, and then it has just kind of a few of these vertical grooves to it. So, these are both kind of fair, or very, they're both good Graflex tribute lightsabers. It's kind of neat that they bring in these different Graflex nods, into the hilt design, but these are certainly distinctive designs from each other and from the Graflex lightsaber as well. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and feel free to comment below.